Ready to explore the cutting edge of digital infrastructure? I'm Carrie Charles, your host of Let's Get Digital. Join me as we dive into the ideas, technologies, and leaders transforming the way we connect. From wireless telecom to fiber networks, data centers, and beyond. Sponsored by Broadstaff in partnership with RCR Wireless News. Now, let's dive in and let's get digital. Welcome to Let's Get Digital. I'm Carrie Charles, your host. And today I have, again, a very special episode for you, but it's one of those episodes that highlights a company that when I hear about this company, I think everybody in the industry needs to hear about this company. And this guest reached out to me and I said, yes, we need to talk about what you're doing and your technology. So my guest today is David Pash. He is the CEO of SiteSee, which you're going to hear a lot about in just a few moments. So David, thank you for reaching out to me. Great meeting you at ConnectX, by the way, and thank you for coming on the show.
Gary, thank you so much. I'm delighted to be here and delighted to be talking to your audience today. Great to meet you at ConnectX. I had a great time over there. It was our first visit and I really enjoyed the opportunity. So you can probably see it's early morning for me. I'm in Sydney, Australia. It's like 7 a.m. So the sun's come up and I'm sitting in my home office today and you'll see some memorabilia behind me, which is Australian football memorabilia from my team, the Sydney Swans. So if you don't know about Australian football, you can see it just behind me. So just if you're wondering what was going on behind me today.
Oh, that is so cool. I love that. I'm not familiar with Australian football. I'm very familiar with American football, for sure.
Yes. Well, I'm not so familiar with American football, but we love our Australian football here. So,
yes. Well, David, let's start with you. Let's talk a little bit about your career path and, what got you here today, where you are.
All right. Well, look, it's probably a non-telco path, right? You wouldn't expect me to, I'm not a telco person who's had a telco career all his life. I've been 35 years in engineering, construction. And in commercial roles, I've been general managers of, big construction companies. But I've always loved technology and I've always liked Australian technology and what Australian technology can do. So back in the early 2000s, I was working for a company and we had some great Australian tech that we took to the world. We took to England and it was to do with post-tension concrete. So it's a technical thing, but what it means is we're able to reduce the thickness of floor slabs. So we're able to get like 3 more floors into a building height within the same building envelope, which meant a very, very high commercial advantage to the customer to get 3 more levels of floor slab. And that was taking Australian technology to the world. So I love Australian technology and I love how it can change the economics, of international businesses. So my skill set has been pretty transferable across engineering, construction and now into telco. The issues are the same. I'm about sales, commercial management, about closing deals and about customer satisfaction, right? Zero churn and making sure customers are super happy. And that's sort of where we are today. I invested in the company in 2020. I really love the technology and I love the people. And I met these amazing people in 2020 and I really knew they were a bit ahead of their time with the digital twin, but I thought it was a terrific company to invest in. So I'm an investor now and we specialize in digital twins. And it's really a trusted digital version of your rooftop or your tower. So we specifically look into telco, and it gives you the opportunity with a digital twin to inspect, to measure and to plan, and then to predict what can be happening on your site. So it adds real commercial value to our customers, which is really what we want. So that's my story.
Yes, no, I love it. Let's talk about the origin story of SiteSee. And also, what problems were you trying to solve?
Okay. Look, the company was founded by my partner, Lucio Piccoli, in 2017. And he was a software engineer and built a great team of young mechatronic engineers and physicists. And we were really early into the digital twin, right? Back in 2017, there were no buzzwords about digital twins. We were actually a bit before our time, and the market took a while to actually catch up to what we had developed. But we started off as an RF planning tool. So we were talking to M&Os about, okay, here's the RF plume from your site. And so that was an important tool we built early on. But when we spoke to customers, they loved the tool, but they said, look, we need to know what's on our tower because we don't know. We don't know what's on our tower. And we were surprised that they were so sort of, they told us about, such an answer, right? We thought, surely that can't be true. But, the drawings, the databases, all the field reports, they all had different pieces of data in there, and they didn't know what the truth was. So we decided to build a platform, to build our AI, and to build our AI engine specifically about telecom to solve the problem of what's on the tower and to know exactly what's there so you can start making correct decisions. So we were solving a problem about visibility, knowing exactly what was on the tower, but we were also verifying the truth. So it didn't matter what your drawing said. You have a look at the truth of the digital twin, and that is what the truth is. So that's how you can start planning. So that's sort of where we started, Carrie.
Every time you say digital twin, I just can't think of anything else except that I would love to have a digital twin of me to be able to do double the work.
Well, yes, true.
Can you do that too?
Well, I think you can look, certainly you can, if you have a digital twin, you're able to predict and to have a perfect point of truth to make a lot of decisions, so you have a high level of confidence that you can make whatever decision you need to make because you know exactly what you're talking about is the baseline. And that's the problem. People don't understand the baseline.
So what makes you different, David, than other, let's say, more generic digital twin companies?
Look, I think one word for that, Kerry, is focus, right? We're laser focused on telecom and wireless telecom. So we're telecom native and we just focus on wireless telecom and we focus on rooftops and on towers. We don't focus on mining or utilities or construction or wind farms or anything like that. We just focus on wireless telecom and we want to be best in class there. We're not a drone company either, right? We use drone input, but we're a software business just focusing on telecom. And we help customers with colocations, upgrades, RF planning and engineering, as I said. And we have our AI is just trained specifically in telecom. So we built these AI engines that are doing all the work for us, and we've built it to scale so that, there's really no human intervention in what we're doing. It's a complete AI engine. So it gives us a true baseline, and the roadmap is then also generated by what customers want for the future. So it's not, the old digital twins are sort of like a visualization tool, but ours is much, much more. We're able to monetize what is happening from that digital twin. That's really the difference, I think.
Yeah, and we're going to talk about the monetization in a moment too, which is important. But also, one other question. I read that you use a phrase called decision-ready digital twin. And what does that mean? And why is that so important in wireless telecom?
Okay, good question. So what we've done in SiteSee, we've moved from digitization to monetization, right? And to monetize your assets, you need to know exactly what's happening and you need to have a digital twin that's ready for you to make decisions. So the single point of truth, and then you have an ability to make decisions about planning, and you can act with confidence, right? You have a site truth and customers can then act with confidence. They can simulate, validate, colocate, drag and drop, fill in all of the blanks. Actually on the digital twin, they can do indicative engineering, they can do RF planning. So you can get a very good idea of, you can increase your confidence that you are able to do an upgrade much quicker. So it's a high level of confidence, which is why it's ready to make a decision. So you can start dragging and dropping equipment, you can start upgrading, you can start co-locating with a very high level of confidence, and you do less redesign as well, and you have a better first time right. So it's about having something that's ready to make high value decisions and become part of a bigger workflow pretty quickly.
So your platform software is called NextDT, right?
Correct.
So talk about that like in just simple terms, like almost like if you were doing a very super, super fast little demo with me.
Okay, so NextDT is the next generation of digital twin, which is really how it's been described. And it goes from a visualization tool to making faster decisions, right? It's about, can I upgrade? Can I make a decision quickly? And can I get confidence in what I'm doing and confidence in my colocation and upgrade in 15 minutes. So you can open the site, you can move equipment, you can check the fit, you can go back and forth. You don't have to go back to engineering teams. You don't have to go back and do a lot of, replanning during the upgrade phase, which saves a lot of money. And it also gives a better customer experience, right? When the M&Os sit there with the tower companies and they can do an upgrade, looking at the digital twin in real time, then they never go back to another way of doing it. So that's really the difference. It's about making fast decisions, speed of revenue, and really improving the economics of the tower company.
So you mentioned briefly 15 minutes. So what does that mean? Like the customer can do all of this, everything you said in 15 minutes, or?
Yes. Yeah, look, that was a term that was not coined by SiteSee. That was a term that was coined by one of our customers, 40 South in New Zealand. Nick Clark coined the phrase. So they're a New Zealand tower company. They've been using SiteSee NextDT for 3 years, and we're about to re-sign for another 3 years with them. And they have a smaller company. They have about 40 people in the business. They have 100 people using the digital twin like every day. They have stakeholders, contractors, M&Os. They have the whole suite using it. They use it for sales, for engineering, for operations and planning. So it's embedded into the whole workflow of that company. And when they want to do an upgrade with their M&O customer, the salesperson gets on a call, they open the digital twin and they do an upgrade in real time on the SiteSee digital twin. And it gives them a high level of confidence. You fit the equipment in, etc. You can have a high level of confidence that everything will fit properly. And that can be done in 15 minutes. So what Nick says, what used to take them weeks or months, takes them 15 minutes now. And it gives 40 South and particularly the M&O customer a high level of confidence that, yes, this is going to work. And then you can move on in the workflow to some more other important parts of a workflow, to get the job completed. So we don't do any engineering certification as such. That needs to be done at the end. But that was coined by Nick Clark. And Nick Clark says, as soon as the customer sees NextDT and does this work in 15 minutes, they never go back to any other way of doing it. They keep going back to him to have this experience again. It's like the dopamine hit, right?
Yes, I feel like you are going to change the industry. That's what it feels like. Let's talk a little bit more about the proof that you have that NextDT is really changing those customer outcomes in the real world.
Yeah, well, look, that's a good question because, look, this isn't theory, right? There's plenty of people have have a good product and have a good story, and they have all these theoretical numbers about, okay, this is what I can do for you, etc. But we actually have proof now. We're validated in Australia and New Zealand, in the UK, and also in Asia. So we wanted to make sure we were validated before we went to the US, because if we have a go at the US and we're talking out of our backside, then it's not going to work, right? We'll get picked up. So we wanted to make sure we had some good, valid data to take to the US. And so, for example, 40 South, they have a market share of about 40% of the towers in New Zealand, but they win about 70% of the colocations, right? So customers are drawn to them. So it's about speed. So speed wins and customer experience wins. And that's what I think about the US. If you have speed and customer experience, you win. Nick talks about a 250% increase in engineering productivity, which is pretty significant. He also talks about not having to go to the site during a design phase on 60% of the sites. So you don't have to visit the site during a potential design phase. You only visit the site to upgrade the tower later on. So it's saving truck rolls, it's saving windshield time, which is a term I've learned recently from the US, windshield time. I didn't know that term before. And also, Nick also had a situation where his team wanted to upgrade a tower, and they had a look at it in NextDT and they realised they didn't need to upgrade it. They could move some equipment around and change the configuration, and that saved them $400,000. So that was about the price of the whole digital twin platform price for the whole year that he saved in one decision. So there's some really good validation here. And in the UK, one of our customers is improving his time to revenue. So the real metric for us is, how long does it take for you from the time you do a design to the time you get a contract with a customer and your revenue starts? And using NextDT, the customer in the UK has reduced that time from 8 months to 44 days. So, He's accelerated his revenue by about 170 days, which is very significant. Adds cash flow to the business, adds EBITDA to the business, and increases the value of the bottom line. So not just about the visualization tool, it's about increasing the value of your company, which is a really important metric, I think. When we're talking to C-suite and to CFO people in businesses, it's like, oh, wow, okay, you're not just a maintenance tool that's going to cost me money. You're actually helping me add value and add revenue to my business. Okay, it's a different conversation, actually. Yeah.
Are there any other key metrics that lead to that ROI?
So for us, we sort of talk about ROI metrics in two buckets. The first bucket is like operational, where, the ROI from NextDT can change the metric, like in a workflow. So for example, first time right, you don't need to go back to the site for the second and third time. Engineering productivity and reducing design, reducing site visits, of course, reducing CO2 emissions, and, doing work safely and not having to reclimb towers is very important too. So we consider that as a good operational ROI increase, but we consider that as being sort of not what really moves the numbers. So what moves the numbers is the commercial ROI improvement, which is the time to revenue. Get your billing starting earlier, get those 20-year contracts locked in as early as you can and start building your revenue quicker. The $400,000 example, that drops to the bottom line immediately. Colocation conversion, like Nick Clark's doing, he's punching well above his weight, and he's enabling his company to get more colocations. So that's more revenue that he wouldn't expect to get straight to his bottom line. And it's all improving the economics of these tower companies. So, most digital twins can do some operational, improvements in ROI, but I think we're the only one that really moves the numbers on the commercial side today.
Which increases the value of the company significantly over time.
Absolutely correct, right? Absolutely correct. Yes. It's all about cash.
So, coming from the talent world like I do, I have to ask about people. And I'm thinking, it doesn't seem like it's going to replace tower climbers at any point, right? Or field workers, or does it? Does it replace these field teams at some point?
No, look, it certainly doesn't replace any field teams. The physical work still needs to occur. You still need to go and install equipment to maintain towers and to do repairs, of course. But what we do is we try and reduce the unnecessary tower climbs, particularly during the planning and the design phase, right? You can answer all those questions remotely before you have to go to the site, and let alone before you have to climb the tower. So we're sort of reducing that risk, fewer truck rolls, faster feasibility, and of course it's safer. So it's less field work potentially, but it's not having people, it's having people work smarter and, coming home safely at night, right? So, but what it's also doing, we're finding, is quite a few of our customers are sort of multi-skilling their, the riggers in their site teams to actually do the drone flying, right? So when the maintenance guy goes to the site, when the truck rolls out there to cut the grass or to do something else, they fly the drone as well. And, have an automated flight plan. It's very simple. So we're actually, part of our plan is to sort of upskill, some of the industry to be able to multi-skill and to do this drone work. So as soon as they finish doing an upgrade of a site, as soon as the work's completed, they get the drone out of the car and they fly the drone, and then they go home. So that's sort of what we're trying to do. That's what's working in the Philippines and other parts of the world. And I think that's a model that will help sort of scale the business in the US as well going forward.
So let's talk about the U.S. market. Why is the U.S. such an important focus for SiteSee right now?
Look, it's important to us because the market's large, right? It's sophisticated and it's super competitive, right? And so we think that some of our success in other parts of the world can be replicated in the US, where speed is critical, right? When I was at ConnectX, I was talking to a lot of tower companies, mid-tier tower companies, and they were talking about how competitive it was and how competitive colocation was. So they're competing with their peers for colocations. They're also competing with the big boys. So it's super competitive. And the fast decisions win deals, right? So you have to work fast and move fast. If you can do that and you combine that with a good customer experience, then you win the deal. And that's what we've found. We're working with Symphony Towers at the moment in the US, and that's what we're finding over there, right? The NextDT advantage for us is speed and customer experience. And so we've partnered with Alberio in the US, Letitia and her team. I've known Letitia for a number of years.
Yeah, she's wonderful.
Yeah, so she's a great partner over there. And we did a job with them back in 2021. But now we're ready to launch in a more formal way in the US. So we sort of provide the decision-ready digital twin, and then Letitia provides the local market knowledge and the AI. And she has a wonderful product called Albi, which, has the ability to interrogate all the infrastructure data that, we find on the site. So, look, the US is very important to us, and, watch this space, because I think there'll be some more logos coming quite shortly.
So do you have any, let's say, partnerships? I think we spoke a little bit that you have some new investors as well, shaping your future.
Yes. Yeah. Look, we've basically been self-funded to date, but we have some new investors involved now in the business, and they love the tech and they love what we've been doing, and they've been talking to our customers actually, and they've been asking, okay, what's the value of this company, and what's the value that they provide? So they're right behind us, and they want to grow this business as quickly as we do and as fast as we do. So they're right behind us with capital to expand in the US, to expand in Europe, and to expand in the Middle East. We've just started in the Middle East, but when things settle down there, we'll be back there doing some more work. So good to have very supportive partners, and also good to have a supportive customer base where they're helping us with our roadmap. So we build our roadmap based on what the customers need, right? So customers are telling us what they want, and if the business case is there, we build it for them, and we release it in the next version of NextDT. So we're not telling customers what they need. We're listening, and we're building what customers want. And I think that's a pretty important differentiator for us too going forward. So watch this space, Kerry. There might be some LinkedIn announcements about a couple of new contracts soon.
Let's do it. I heard speed and customer experience and cost savings. Now, any company in our industry wants all of that. So, you're in the right place, right time, with the right solution. And what about the future? Last question. Just what, a decade down the road, where are you going? What does SiteSee look like? What's your vision?
Look, that's a really good question, right? I think we'll be, with the advent of AI, it'll be a different world then. And I think we will have tools like, SiteSee NextDT sort of integrated into workflows. So what we're about now is, it's not a standalone digital twin that we're providing anymore. We're providing something that embeds into customers' workflows, right? So there's so much value to be unlocked within sort of old-fashioned workflows. No disrespect to the tower companies, but some old-fashioned workflows, we want to get in and be part of the workflow. We don't want to be a standalone piece. But what you'll find is that we'll be sort of embedded into the workflows of most tower companies. And we sort of want to be the system of record, and we want to be able to be the company that enables companies to monetize their assets in a very quick and fast way. And, we have a lot of other ideas on our roadmap at the moment. Some of them are coming out now. There'll be some new products released fairly soon. But I guess it's where the customers want us to go, we will go, right? That's what it's about. We've got, we have capital, we've got, contracts in 5 continents. So, different use cases for different parts of the world. But look, we've looked at the world with a lot of confidence. The market for digital twins is still quite new. I mean, you'd be surprised that some customers in some part of the world really don't even know what the value is like of that at all. So, we're sort of a lot of education in the next 5 years, and it will probably be talked about in a different way in 10 years. And we want to just be embedded in, customers' workflows.
So, David, what is a website for SiteSee?
www.sitesee.io.
And that's SiteSee.
Correct.
Very good. Well,
Great.
Thank you for coming on the show, David. This is just,
Pleasure.
It's been informative. As you can see, I am excited about your vision. And, I've been in this industry for 10 years, so I have seen some of the pain that you're talking about and the problems that you solve. So, again, wonderful to meet you. And I know I'm going to see you at a show very soon again.
Yes, Carrie, thank you so much. Really appreciate your time and your interest, and good to meet you again.
Onward and upward. Take care.
That's it. Okay, bye.
Thanks for tuning in to Let's Get Digital. This podcast is powered by Broadstaff, a national staffing firm specializing in digital infrastructure talent. Don't forget to subscribe, leave a review, and join me next time as we explore more stories at the intersection of technology, talent, and transformation. Until then, let's get digital.